The Get Better podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants. Please remember to gamble responsibly.
Welcome to Get Better for March 15th, 2022. Big week ahead. I'm here with Luke Boone, and we got a special guest. Third time on the podcast, second time on video. Our only guest ever, Justin Ganza. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. Booner, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. It's the most wonderful time of year. It's one of the reasons why we've got our good friend Justin Ganza.
It's March Madness time, and we're going to end this podcast talking a little bit about what's happening in our strategy in that play. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. I got a couple little things to tell you. First of all,
okay,
I got COVID.
Currently, right now, you've got COVID right
now. I'm on, I tested on, I knew I kind of had something on Friday, tested Saturday, and I battled through the weekend. It was a rough one. Now I'm just stuck with a little bit of a raspy throat, but also I think not a bad little radio voice right now. It feels like it's got that good raspiness to it. So we're almost through.
What? I could have predicted that you were going to say that. The only reason why I say this, because anytime I've ever gotten sick and spoken to you, you're like, man, but listen to your voice. Like, it's the silver lining. Your voice sounds so good. You got that low, raspy, sexy radio voice. It's like perfect.
It's the perfect time to change your answering machine message, right? Like, that's the time. Hi, you've reached Troy Gibb. So that was one thing that's happened to me for sure.
Yeah.
The other, and you're not going to believe this, I got a Wordle in one.
No,
you
didn't.
Wordle in one.
Come on.
It's a lie.
So
it's a lie.
the hardest part about getting Wordle in one is you can't tell anybody, because no matter what you say, no one will believe you. My wife doesn't believe me.
But didn't you send it? Didn't you share it?
I shared it. Wordle. I shared Wordle in one, but everybody thinks you knew the word. You got it from somebody else. You saw somebody else's or something like that.
Yeah. So what was the word?
It was watch. So the funny part is I've actually used watch before as a first word. And I do that. I'm actually using the word, I use truck a lot. So I'm like, if truck ever comes, I like truck to be my first word, because eventually if I get truck, I'll get Wordle in one again. Right. So anyway, I'm with a buddy at the time, and I go to him and I say, you didn't know what Wordle was. He had no clue whatsoever. And I go, yeah, you have to pick a letter, the greens, the yellows, blah, blah, blah. Here, watch. And I actually said, here, watch. And I just typed watch as a joke to start the first word. And I'm like, I turned to him and he's just like, okay, cool. Like he'd never seen Wordle, right? He didn't even appreciate what I just did, right? He's just like this. I'm like, you don't understand what just happened, man. Like, that's a fucking big deal.
Like, that's the height of your Wordle career, right?
Height. And he has zero impact. He's like, okay, cool. Like, doesn't really understand it, right? And I'm like, no one's gonna believe this. No one until I told him, I'm like, it's not gonna happen. Nobody's gonna believe this story. And he's like, well, I'll be there. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Even if you say it and back me, no one's ever believing this story. So it's a tough pill to get Wordle in one. But
Gub sent me he showed it to me. Yeah. Right off the bat, I said it was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Because watch is a terrible word for Wordle. So I was like, no chance. And then he told me the story, so I kind of believe him now.
So Gans, are you in on the Wordle craze?
Yeah, I was.
Playing? So you've kind of slowed down, tapered off.
Yeah, I didn't get. That was the first time I didn't get it. Was when it was watch. That same day that Gub got it the first time, I didn't get it.
You didn't get it.
Yeah, and I haven't played since then.
What? So give me, because I don't know, Gub. Maybe we've talked about this like offline, not on the podcast. But so Ganza, What's your Wordle strategy to start? Do you always start with the same?
Yeah.
What do you use?
Tiers.
Yeah.
Any reason why? Your EA, which is obviously pretty common. Yeah. And then R, T, and S.
S is in there. That's actually a good word.
It's the Wheel of Fortune. It's the RST.
RSTLNE.
Yeah. That's true. I always started with the word adieu, because I covered as many vowels as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. Like that. I always started with it, because then at least I knew I was gonna start with something.
I think you need to get
certainly never started with watch.
So I like getting the H's in there, the K's in there, because like I want to be able to get it in one or two.
Are you still playing regularly?
Yeah. I still like to do it, but I like to get it into the first ones. If I'm just trying to get vowels all the times, I can figure out where vowels go. Usually the second letter is a vowel, right? So I like, once I get the other key letters, I'll work on the other ones.
Yeah, I'll do tiers.
That's why I'm dominant in Wordle, man.
I'll do tiers first, and then regardless if I get a letter in there, my second guess will always be mound. So I could get the M in there and the N with another 2 vowels.
There's a good word. Oh,
process of elimination from there.
Have you guys tried any of the spin-offs? Any other ones? Like Hurdle, the music one?
Yeah, Hurdle. There was a good NBA one where you get the player.
Hurdle.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
I tried it today and lost today.
The
I think
NBA
it was the
one?
second time I did. Yeah, I got it right the first time, but then today I got it wrong. But it was like Lonnie Walker the 4th.
Right. Come on. Yeah, seriously. Seriously. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you
on your first attempt Wordle. I mean, whatever the hell it's called. At the end of the day, again, like we choose to believe you or not. I think you're a relatively honest person.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm shady. Like I admit it. I'm shady. I'm always looking for an angle. I'm always looking for little holes and like little loopholes. That's part of me. But that's the part. It's almost like Boy the Cried Wolf. Like he's lying. Like Katie said, it's like, if you believe it, then it's okay. Right? So like, she doesn't believe me, so I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so how you feeling though, outside of that on the COVID front?
It's not bad. You know what? It was a rough few days.
Yeah.
You know, all the standard stuff. Really bone chills was the main part, and fever and that. But now it's just congestion and really cool voice.
and radio voice.
Yeah,
nice.
Voice. Yeah.
Well, good timing, because we'll leverage that radio voice today as we dip into a couple of things. So we in typical fashion, get better fashion, we've missed a few weeks again. Usually we get on a good string, we do a bunch, and then all of a sudden we're like silent for a little bit. We like to leave the fan base hanging. Yeah, a little bit, right? Like it's good to do that sometimes. Leave them wanting more.
So we're coming up on 1,000 podcasts, like downloads too, right? So we're almost there. We're almost at 1,000. I think this might be the one that puts us over the top.
Yeah. So a couple
share
things
this
to
with
catch
all your
up on.
friends, Ganza. Share.
yeah, Ganza, we're gonna need you to
push it out to socials.
Yeah,
we're gonna need you to really amplify this one. It's all resting on your shoulders. A couple things to catch up on though. And things that have happened in the world of sports. Couple of the headlines: MLB finally out of the lockout. We're going to see some baseball, which is exciting, especially for us being in the city of Toronto. Really quickly, how are we feeling about the Jays? And I'm throwing this one at you as a bit of a curveball, pun intended. How are we feeling?
Optimistic. Yeah, I feel good. Like I think we're a pretty darn good team. I don't understand how Tampa wins, and I think that's just a weird fact of baseball. Is I think we're a better team than the others in the American League East, and somehow Tampa wins. I don't know, but I think with the extended extra team in the playoffs, we would have made it last year with this format. So we're a young team getting better and older, so we should naturally be progressing. So yeah, World Series, let's go.
So I'm with you on that. I actually like our rotation a lot. I think they're going to be competitive. They're not done with making changes yet either. I think maybe the piece that excites me most is that they now have free reign to make the changes. It sounds like they've been given the payroll, go out, get what we need. If we're going to do this, like the next 3 years are crucial here. Yeah. And it starts with this season. I think the rotation looks good right now. I think there's still a few more pieces. Some of the headlines that were coming out today, and some of the pieces are still going after. It's going to be an exciting season of baseball for Blue Jay fans. So I'm particularly excited about that as I sit here in my St. Louis hat. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good season. Ganza, you got any take on that? You're on bandwagon?
Yeah, I'm saying with you guys. I think their starting pitching is great. Probably one of the best in the league, top to bottom. Obviously, hitting, we could. Yeah, I don't think anyone could talk to us in terms of hitting.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like if we get like a Freeman or a Jose Ramirez, that definitely fill some holes there. So yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. But
coming down the stretch could be exciting as we get close to the season card. So MLB, we're going to get baseball. It's coming up. Gub, what you
was going to say? I'd like to think like history repeats itself. I remember when we started going that run in 15 and 16. That's the first time in the playoffs. But take us back 1985, right? 85, we made it. Struggled for a couple of years in there. Then finally 92, we hit it. We're at that same point. 7 years later. It's that time right now. Let's go. So 2022.
You really dated yourself there a little bit, but that's okay. It's like 85, we struggled. Yeah. Right. I know. I think I was one, maybe. I know what you mean. 85. So other updates, some NFL news coming up. Obviously the biggest one, Brady coming out of retirement. Do you even call it retirement? Isn't it still technically like it was like an off season for him? Really?
This is what's wrong with the world. Like everybody wanted to sound like make the rest of your life decision today, Tom. Figure it out, Tom. We need to know, Tom. Like leave him alone, man. Like he's been playing forever. Like let him have a break for a second. Like let him go have some lunch. Hang out with the kids for the summer or the winter.
So let me ask you this question. Do you think it's necessary for him to come back to have any impact on his legacy? No. Like my question is when I saw it, I was like, why? Why come back?
Exactly. Yeah. I thought he had the perfect send off. Like with him retiring that way, like he released those posts and it was fine that way. But then to come back is like, but realistically, like, did he really have to post all that and say his thank yous when he had basically up until that time to say that if he was going to come back or not? But it was kind of, I don't know. I don't think
it was final. Like it was so final when you read all those posts, all the thank yous, everybody that said everything to him. Are we going to do that again? Like, is he going to retire after next season? We're going to do all those thank yous again. Like, no, I don't think it does. That's why I'm kind of like, when I thought about it, I'm like, why? Like, why? Like now let's say you come out, you don't have a great season. Let's say they don't even make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, then you're like, why? So you came back for what reason?
So this is where I'll debate you a bit. I don't believe the legacy is just about the Super Bowls, right? It's not just about the championships and the titles. He's doing something on the side, his TB12, right? And he's trying to show people there's another way to live, right? There's so much like anti-aging stuff right now. How he's able to perform at a level that's the exact same age, basically. He's a year older than I am. Right. Imagine me trying to play in the NFL right now.
And we just established you're old.
Yeah. I'm gonna get rocked. Right. Don't get me wrong. I think I could take something on a post corner still, but it's like
post bunion surgery.
We're down. We're 16 days away from that dreaded day. Oh man. But what he's doing is he's trying to show people there's a different way to live your life, right? You can challenge Father Time in different ways. That's the way he eats. It's the way he trains. He's not huge and he purposely doesn't bulk up. He's big on like the elongated muscles, stretching it out, right? So he's trying to show us all a different way to live and perform at a higher level. And you could extend the most fun parts of your life by doing this. This guy's going to live to like, I'm going 120, 125 years old.
Right. But how many cheeseburgers has he been able to eat in his life?
He doesn't do it. He doesn't.
Exactly. Right who is honestly living a satisfying life without having a cheeseburger from time to time?
It's
without having like a chicken wing. Do you think he eats a chicken wing? Do you think he gets to have a chicken wing and a beer?
You're going to see people that are playing into their 50s one day. And I think I believe he wants the record to be the oldest starting quarterback. I think Steve DeBerg had it right now. So he'll break that this year finally. Yeah. And I think he actually wants to try to make it to 50. That was a goal.
How many seasons has he been with the Bucs now? Is it 2?
This will be year 3, right?
3, yeah.
This will be his 3rd year, which is crazy. So he is just behind Jameis Winston for most passing TDs in Bucs franchise history. And he's probably going to pass that this year. He's sitting at 96. Jameis Winston's at 121 right now. And he played 2 seasons.
Yeah. It's so good, man. It's crazy. I used to hate him.
I think it's a great story, and I think when we look at all the greats, I think something that they have in common is their attitude, and they're so competitive. You look at the Jordans, the Kobes of the world, Tiger, like those guys are uber competitive. So it's like that's what gets them going. That's what makes them want to compete every single day, is that having that attitude and mentality.
But did they take care of their bodies? At 37 years old, Kobe was done. You know, LeBron, look at him, like at Jordan. What was Jordan at 37? I think he was in his retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. LeBron at 37 right now.
I think at the end of the day, for me on Brady, I just hope that it doesn't, like, he comes back and he can't perform at the same level. And it just kind of it almost looks like desperate, like he couldn't give up the game and he's just so desperate. But if he can come back and compete at a high level and take the team to the playoffs again and give it a realistic shot, that's the only piece. That's what I mean about the legacy. Does it impact his legacy if he can't perform at the same level? Do people look at it and say, okay, Tom, you're desperate now, like hang it up? That's what I would hate, because I actually like the guy. I was never a Tom Brady fan. I become a Tom Brady fan. And so that's the only thing. I just hope it doesn't impact the legacy in a negative way. But I don't know, because I think it was final.
Yeah, I think the last thing you want to see is him be like a Roethlisberger, right?
Yeah.
Like that was tough to watch.
There's your cheeseburgers for you.
I was just gonna say, let's say he hasn't missed many cheeseburger meals for sure.
Yeah. And I bet you when Roethlisberger is 20 years from now, he'll say, I really wish I took care of my body a little bit better.
Yeah, but I think we'll all I think anybody would say that unless you're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But then does Tom Brady look at down the road and say, man, I really wish I had like that ice cream?
I'm sure at
some point, right?
Here and there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Other NFL news, Mr. Ridley.
Yeah.
We talk about getting better, and sometimes you gotta stay away from the books. You're not allowed to bet in the NFL if you're a player.
I know. So, like, what are we doing here? What is he doing? Seriously. Like, at the end of the day, I get it. There's a ton of athletes. Like, Jordan is known as a notorious gambler. Phil Mickelson, known as a notorious gambler. Let's not even get into the Phil Mickelson stories right now and everything that's happened with Saudi League, because that's insane. But there are tons of athletes, because there's the other one, Floyd Mayweather Jr., like avid gambler. They like to bet. It's how they get a rush. It's how they get a thrill.
Let's talk about Pete Rose.
Exactly.
He's not in the Hall of Fame because of that, right?
Exactly. But you can't bet on the sport that you play in. Like, you can't, like, what are you doing?
You were out.
Am I wrong? I know you're out. I know you're injured, but still.
And what if you're betting them to win? Isn't that okay? Like, hey, we're all in. We're trying to win this game. I'll bet on it too. That's how much I think we're going to win.
But wasn't it like what did we say it was? An 18 game parlay or something like that?
I don't know what it was, but it was a parlay. But all the talk is, hey, he bet 1,500 to and he lost 11 million. Basically.
Chance to win 1,500 and lost 11.
But nobody's asking the question if he won the parlay or not. Right? Maybe he's only going to be down, 10 million and 900,000 and some change this year. Maybe the blow isn't as bad as we think.
Yeah, I just feel like if you got to scratch that betting itch, like, maybe don't do it in the sport that you're an athlete in. It's probably rule number one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That probably sits somewhere in like the NFL player handbook. Here's your handbook.
Yeah. Oh, it's there. It's there.
100%.
It's just going to go down as one of those like really just dumb athlete moves, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
sadly for him.
Too
and
bad.
Lost out on a bunch of money.
Yep.
Outside of that, Players Championship with this past weekend. I know both of you are like avid golfers. But interesting weekend. Some crazy stats coming out of this week. One of the craziest one to me was I think it was 54 hours to finish the first round. First of all, like, I don't think Florida's ever had so much rain in their life. Like, it was crazy what the rain was and what it did to that golf course. But So that was one of the crazy stats I heard. 54 hours just to finish the first round. It stretches all the way to the Monday. They're going off both tee blocks. And there was some interesting things that happened in the final round because there's a lot of names up there that maybe, your average golfers might not be familiar with. Cam Smith. I mean, I would hope people know who Cam Smith is now, but maybe they don't. You're shaking your head. You never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. And so wins the tournament, obviously. But there was like some other weird things that happened over the course of the tournament. Like DJ, I think, sneakily ties in the final round the course record, chips in on his last hole to shoot 63 and finish like 7 under. So he wasn't that far back. He was that close into the mix, but there was just so much going on that final day that storylines were getting lost in the shuffle. But an interesting Players Championship, the highest purse ever for a PGA golf tournament, $20 million total purse, 3.6 million to the winner, which it was, the timing of that is interesting to put the highest purse based on all the news and noise around this Saudi league and the fact that the players are going there there's been interest. Yeah, there's been interest by certain players and some players because the purses are going to be higher. They're going to get paid more money, all that kind of stuff. So PGA Tour comes out and creates the highest paid purse for a PGA Tour event at $20 million. There was guys finishing, I think, in the top 10, still making 6 figures. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, no kidding. A good one. One of my favorite tournaments, Masters, is coming up next too, and I'm sure we're going to cover that in about a couple of weeks, actually. Yeah. So we'll get after that one. But this week, as we said, the most wonderful time of the year. Yes.
2
March
days of
Madness.
Absolute mayhem. And just to recap, the reason why we have Gans on is, me, Luke, and Ganza for the last 3 years or 4 years now, I guess, right?
3 or 4, I think now.
4 years have played in the same gambling space where we decided to go in together and follow a certain method that's paid off pretty well.
Wait, hold on. Last year it paid.
Yeah.
Last year paid well.
It's true. 2 years ago, we did get killed, but we were a little reckless then. We didn't have the structure that we had in place that we did last year. We were all over chasing bets a bit.
We weren't very composed. We had no composure.
Yeah.
At one point in time, I think we were throwing a quick roulette.
To
try to get a boost and get back in the game. Like nightmare.
It was, we were chasing. Yeah, we were making $100 bets last year. And we're going to up the ante this year. We're going to go.
Not significantly, but we're going to up it a little bit.
Yeah, we're going up 150. So,
yeah. So we're not talking like, listen, we're not mortgaging the house here.
Okay.
Yeah. But have we talked about the bet? I mean, for all our,
I'm just trying to add up right now, like last year.
listeners.
I have last year's results in front of me. I'm just trying to figure out how much we actually bet again. And I'm like, it was.
Well, it was a significant amount over the course.
Over a 2-day period, we made $3,900 worth of bets.
In a 2-day period. So it's good amount. It's decent. For like average gamblers. That's a healthy amount of money.
And between the three of us, we took over $1,151 last year. So it was a good little win. So
the theory, do you want to get into the theory?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, the theory originated from, and is it from, so you told Gans and I about this theory.
Correct.
But was it a buddy of yours that tipped you on?
A buddy of mine, one of my closest friends told me about it, that heard it from like some underground gamblers that are really heavy into poker. Right. And they had this. And obviously the one thing you should never do is when you got a good bet like this, don't share it. What do we end up doing? We do a podcast and do whatever we can to tell as many people.
Yeah.
And I think they're on to us this year, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute.
Get on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the theory is, we call it the double under bet.
The double under is what we've named it.
And the philosophy behind the bet is you're essentially betting on the nerves of
teenage kids,
teenage boys in this national championship that is broadcast globally across the world. We're basically essentially betting on their nerves that they are going to miss so many shots. Either they're so amped up, they're so nervous, the adrenaline is too high, takes a little time to get settled. Yeah. They're going to miss so many shots in that first half. The total will go under.
Isn't that the best? I just love it so much. Like, this is the biggest moment of their life, and I'm right there to capitalize on them doing bad. I just love it. I just love it. It's just my favorite 2 days. Like, there's nothing I like watching more is just bricks, just throwing up bricks all over the place.
That it is a weird, it is kind of interesting because I having watched it obviously the last 3 years, every missed shot is like just in a heightened level of excitement. You're like, another one. Like, just keep throwing up. You know what I mean? It's such a weird way to watch the game. Like, you've never wanted both sides to not score.
Yeah, you want no fast breaks, right? You like, if you see a turnover or a steal, you're like, oh no, right? Or any 3-ball. When 3-balls start landing, it's the worst.
Threes are killers. They're just killers, right? And you're watching and you're checking the pacing to see, like, oh god, the pacing and doing the quick math to figure out where you're at is like, it's fun. But that's the best part about it. And what I love most about this strategy is that you don't have to really know anything about NCAA basketball.
Yeah,
like you don't really, other than the fact that you're just betting on the nerves of these young men. And
all you need is an account and the time to do it.
That's it.
That's a good point. To do it.
That's a good point, Gamza. Yeah. That is a very good point, because it is, there's a lot happening, and that's part of the fun of it too, right? Like, part of the chaos of the whole thing is like, you got games starting, you're tracking other games. Okay. And what we didn't get into actually is the double under portion of that. So why it's called double under is if the first half of a particular game the total goes over for that first half, what you're supposed to do is double the bet on the second half going under. That's the reason the double under. So you bet the first half to go under. If it goes over, let's say you bet $100 on that first half you're betting and it goes over, you bet 200 on the second half to go under. That's the double under.
Correct. And if you remember last year, like, we started, I think we went 9-0 right off the start. Like, we were just
hot.
10. We won 10 in a row last year. Overall, in the first halves, we were 23-7 and 1 push. One of the games didn't end up happening because one of the teams got COVID, but and then when we went to the second half, we went 3-5. So we could have saved some money by not doing the second half, but we were able to chase 300 of that back. So it's tough. It's a tough theory. Should you even bet the second half? I don't know. We'll find out this year. Keep building numbers. But Ganza, you came across a pretty cool stat when you were measuring the averages this year over last year.
Yeah, because I wanted to see what the average first half was, what the points were. And last year they were at around 64. And I think this year we're around 63. So they're on to you, Gub.
They're on to us, man. Like, to go a whole point down over all those games.
Significant.
It's significant. It's significant. So I think they're on to us. We're going to find out.
Well, we're seeing a lot of, like, looking at the spreads right now, or the lines right now, you're seeing a lot of 58s. Like, I don't think we saw that many 58s last year.
Oh my God. Yeah. I hate 58s. Anything in the 50s to me.
Anything in the 50s is just complete and utter. It's just nerve wracking.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. The funny thing is when you're watching and it's like 2 minutes left to go, you're going through every different scenario that could how many
so
threes
fun.
do they need?
Yeah.
How many
Oh,
free
yeah.
throws? Like,
Yeah.
you're going through everything, and it is exciting for sure, but it's definitely nerve-wracking.
Nothing challenges me more mathematically than March Madness and this betting thing. Like, I'm not kidding. You're watching this game trying to do the math quick.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You're working it with the longer shot clock too. Like they have the longer shot clock.
And I've never used the calculator app so much on my phone. Just that's working it out. It's like, it is crazy. It's a fun. The other thing that we should mention is really only for the first round, right?
Yes, we only do this for their first game.
Round only.
We're playing on, like, we figure they are still elite athletes in their sport at their age, so they, they'll figure it out by game 2.
Yeah.
So it's really to play on that first time, the big lights. Oh my God, everybody's watching me. Every single person I know is watching me.
Yeah.
But let me remind you what Gub wanted to do last year when we were hot. He still wanted to go into round 2, right?
We did have that conversation.
You want to ride it.
Ride it?
Do we ride it into round 2?
We cashed out, man.
Send the money, Gub. Send the money.
Yeah.
It is so funny.
I forgot about that.
It is funny how you get to that point where you're like, you can't just be happy with the win. But now, like, in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, we walked away. We made some money last year on this thing. Let's do it again. Let's bet more. So we're gonna see. I feel like they're on to us. Maybe we just got a lot more teams that are playing better defense. No, we'll see. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, it's a fun time, and it's a fun way and it's fun to do it with a group of guys, right?
Yeah. It's the best way to do it, honestly. Yeah. It's really fun to bet these things together.
You get a chat going.
Yeah. And what about for March Madness? Just to wrap up this podcast, any key takeaways? Anyone you're taking in your brackets this year you're looking at? I know one of the things we always talk about is that key upset and where to find the most value. Obviously, there's a ton of these. And that's that 12-5 matchup.
Yeah. I think the one that jumps out, that is from everything that I've read so far, and it's probably the most popular upset pick, and it's in that 12-5 range, is the Houston UAB pick. Everyone, I think, is big on UAB beating Houston here to advance into the second round. So that's the biggest one in that 12-5 range. I also really like Virginia Tech beating Texas. I think Virginia Tech, who they beat the last 3 games, like Notre Dame. What were the other games that Notre Dame, North Carolina, and Duke. They've got were their last 3 wins. Meanwhile, I think it was Texas that's lost their last 3 games. And so there's something to be said for momentum with this tournament and teams coming in with momentum,
especially against big programs like Duke and Carolina, right? That's huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, massive. Like, that's a huge confidence boost to a team like Virginia Tech. So I actually have Virginia Tech beating Texas, and then if they make it to the second round, they'll be I have them playing Purdue, and I think they beat Purdue to make it to the Sweet 16. That might be where the road stops there, but it's always fun to see a team go deep. That's
Cinderella team.
And for whatever reason, every time I do one of these brackets, I always end up with at least like the majority of my Final Four are first and second seeds for whatever reason, and I never have the stones to take a Cinderella team all the way. But those were a few that I was looking at. The other one I'm looking at was out of the South was Michigan over Colorado State in that first round. Those are kind of the upsets that I was focusing on a little bit there. But in the end, I have Gonzaga. I think this is the year they get it done. Finally, they get it there. I have them beating Arizona in the final.
What do you think of Gonzaga?
I think Gonzaga too.
Who do you have them playing in your bracket in the end?
Villanova.
Wow,
I know they're on a bit of a slump going into the tournament, but I don't know. I find that they're always right there, regardless if it's the coaching or whatever. But I always find that they do pretty well in these tournaments. But Gonzaga, I like Chet Holmgren. I think Chet Holmgren. He was coached by Jalen Suggs' father back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Coaching goes a long way in this tournament too. You need some veteran
That's
coaching.
a big thing. Yeah.
It goes a long way. That's a big thing to look at. Like if you're getting deep into betting on March Madness, not just building your bracket, but you look for veteran coaching too, because it matters in this tournament.
Yeah, like I have Michigan State going to the third round, upset over Duke. So, but I love Izzo. I love Izzo. So,
yeah. I have Villanova making to the Elite Eight, but I just think Arizona might be too strong. What about you, Gus?
Where's Bryant University?
Bryant.
That's my big upset. I'm trying to figure out what seed they're at.
Bryant. I have no idea. Are they in the play-in?
Are they?
Yeah. What's the acronym? Is it BRY?
Yeah.
They got to play Arizona in that first game if they get in. There's no way. There's no way they beat Arizona in that first game.
Watch out for Bryant.
All right. Why?
There's a guy named Peter Kiss. Saw a couple videos of this guy. He's my pick. Watch out for Bryant. Just for the upset. Okay. They're not winning this thing. My pick to win the thing is Tennessee. Coming out of they've been pretty hot. Won the SEC. Just beat Kentucky recently. Beat Auburn recently.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. That's my pick. Tennessee to win it all.
Wow. Yeah. Over who? Over who?
What did I take? I got Tennessee beating Gonzaga. They're going to blow it again in the final. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tennessee. Interesting. It's an interesting pick.
Yeah.
Not as shocking as the Bryant pick beating Arizona.
They have to make it to the tournament first.
Get it.
Peter Kiss, man. Remember the name.
Watch out for Bryant.
Remember the name. Peter Kiss.
I watched a couple videos. That's the extent of Gub's research.
That's all I needed.
That's amazing.
But Gonzaga actually has a Canadian point guard.
Yeah.
Nembhard.
I think this. What did I read? Did I read that there's 50 Canadians?
I know there's one in Michigan too.
I think it's 50 across both the men's 50? And the women's tournament. There's 50 Canadians represented over the course of March Madness, both men's and women's, which is exciting. And we talked a little bit. We were talking off camera here about the growth of basketball in this country. Like, it's good to see. Good to see some Canadian representation. It's going to be exciting. Few days.
Yeah, exciting few days on to end the podcast. On some sadder news. Tough to see Scott Hall passed away.
Razor Ramon.
Razor. Machismo. Love that guy, man. Love the bad guy. That was really sad one.
Sad news to see Razor pass away for sure. Yeah. Tough. He was young too, 63.
63. Tough one,
man.
Sad, man.
Tough one to see.
Tough seeing all these sad wrestlers go.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. Maybe don't work 300 days a year. It's so tough.
Yeah. And also do what you do. Like, it's incredible.
Body takes a beating.
Takes an absolute beating. There's no Tom Brady in that. Let's just say.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
March Madness. That's a wrap. We'll tell you how we did. Fingers crossed they aren't on to us. And we are patting the pockets again this year. It's going to be fun.
Let's go, boys. Hey, yo.
All right. The flick.
Yeah, I'm throwing a toothpick at this really expensive camera here. What an idiot I am. Hey, this beautiful lens, I'm throwing a sharp object at it. What a moron I am. Oh, jeez.
Thanks very much for listening, guys. If you like what you hear and you want to learn a little bit more about how to get better at betting, be sure to subscribe, follow, comment. We want to hear from you.